Jake Miles of Comfort Air Distributing, and welcome home. All right, in this episode, we are going to talk about the things that you can do at home to prevent calling your technician. Now, I know that sounds bad, especially on my end of the industry. We want you to call your technician. But there's a lot of things that you can do so that you don't have to make that phone call. And that's what we're going to talk about in this episode today. First and foremost, change your filters. Now, I know it seems like a lot of headache. And sometimes, depending on how your HVAC system is designed, it might very well be a headache. However, most of the time, and I know I speak for all HVAC contractors out there, a lot of the issues that we run into, or the contractors run into out in the field, is due to a very, very dirty filter. Within your HVAC system, furnace, air handler, whatever you may have. And we will talk about those things in later episodes. There are safety switches within that piece of equipment that prevents your furnace, your air conditioner, air handler, whatever you may have, from hurting itself. And one of the major things that trips these safety switches is a clogged filter. So if you've ever taken your vacuum cleaner and you plug up the end of your vacuum cleaner and you hear your vacuum cleaner struggling, had your vacuum cleaner have a safety switch in it, which is technically called a pressure switch, if we're going to get technical, your vacuum cleaner would shut off. And it's not going to turn back on until it gets reset. That's kind of what's happening when you have a bad filter or a clogged filter or a very, very dirty filter in your HVAC system. So, change your filters. What causes a clogged filter? Dirt and dander, pet hair. It's pet hair. If your filter is so clogged that it looks like a quilt, you need to change it more often. So what happens if you don't? Okay, well, if you have an air conditioner and it seems like, man, it's just not getting cold. The thermostat's set to 70 degrees and it's just, it's hot. And it ain't going down. It's just hot. I bet you if you go outside and you look at your air conditioner, it looks like a giant snowball. The lines coming out of the air conditioner that go into your house, which we will talk about those lines in another episode. But the lines that go into your house, you don't know what they do, but looks like they're covered in snow and it's July. There's a lot of things going on here. Number one, your air conditioner is continually being called to operate because it's trying to cool the space in your house, because the thermostat is saying it's hot and it ain't getting any cooler. Well, the air is just not getting moved around like it should. Air is not getting past the coil. You shall not pass! Because of the clogged filter, to create that cold air that's needed to blow into your ductwork to get into your house. So that's why you want to change your filters. You don't want that airflow to be blocked going into your coil. Let's talk about your thermostat. Everybody understands how a thermostat works. It reads temperature of a given something. You get a temperature probe, you stick it into your dinner, make sure it's hot enough to eat. You have temperature probes on your car to make sure it's not overheating. You have temperature gauges are everywhere. Everybody understands how that works. The one in your home works exactly the same way. It's reading ambient air temperature where that thermostat is located. So if you're hot and you want things to cool down. What's the first thing you do? You go over there and you turn down your thermostat a couple degrees, air conditioner kicks on, starts blowing in cold air. It's beautiful. But what happens, okay, now you're getting cold. So I'm going to go over there and I'm going to turn it up a few degrees. Air conditioner shuts off, kicks the furnace on, now it starts heating up your house. Well, now you're getting too hot, so now you're going to go over there and you're going to turn it back down. Don't do this. You are far better off leaving your thermostat set to a certain set point and leaving it alone. If you get cold, cover up with a blanket. If you get hot, uncover yourself with said blanket. Or turn on a fan. And the reason I say this is because your air conditioning system is not designed to heat and cool on demand. That sounds counterintuitive, I understand. But you are taking and asking a product, a system, and by system I mean your air conditioner, your furnace, and the coil, and all of the ductwork and registers and everything that's involved in your HVAC system. You are asking that system to make you, at that certain tiny spot in your house, comfortable, while it's also trying to maintain the temperature in the rest of your house. So, you are far better off leaving it at a certain set point and then just doing small things within your control to make yourself comfortable, i.e. the blanket or taking off the blanket. Not only that, but energy-wise, every time the blower motor kicks on, you're creating a larger draw to electricity to your house because it has to get the momentum in the blower motor, which turns the blower wheel inside your furnace, which moves the air that you are feeling, that is coming from the blower motor within your HVAC system. And when you turn on your system, whether that's cooling or heating, the same motor moves the air, you're creating more amp draw to your motor, which puts a load on your house, which causes your electric meter to turn faster until that blower motor gets to speed, and then your electric meter will slow down a little bit. But the more you adjust that temperature, the longer that blower motor turns, the more amp draw you're creating, the more electricity that you're using, the higher your utility bill goes. See there, I just solved the whole dynamic in everybody's household about the thermostat battles that everybody seems to have, including myself. It's not going to make a difference. It's still going to battle. But I helped. Let's talk about your air conditioner itself. Now, sometimes they're big, sometimes they're loud, sometimes they're old and they just don't look good. So should you cover it at all, especially during the summertime when your AC is being used? Should you put things around it, stack things on it, stack things around it to hide it from the neighbors? No. Okay, don't do that. Your air conditioner has to breathe. It has to be able to bring air in, to bring air out. So when you stack things around it, you cut off its air supply, you cut off its ability to exhaust warm air, because if you've ever gone out to your air conditioner while it's running and you hold your hand over top of the fan that's turning, it's warm air. And I'll explain why that's happening in a later video. But for the sake of this video, I'm just talking about basic do's and don'ts. So keep the dog away from your air conditioner, keep trash cans away from your air conditioner, refrain from leaning pallets or plywood, or even building a nice little picket fence around your air conditioner. Definitely don't put anything over top of it, because it needs to be able to expel that warm air, take in fresh air, and your AC system will thank you for it. If you were ever to look at the install manual for an air conditioner, it has minimum distances where it needs to be away from an object. So you can only have something so close to the top. You can only have something so close to the sides. And that's because of that air movement that I was just talking to you about. Next, let's talk about your furnace. Yeah, the thing that's in your basement that you stack things on. Maybe it's a soda can holder or a beer holder or a clothes rack, whatever it may be. Or maybe you don't even know where it is. What should you do? What could you do as a homeowner to ensure that that furnace is running beautifully and not have an issue? Well, just like your air conditioner, don't stack stuff around it. Let it breathe. Let it get some space. It too has an air inlet where it needs to take in air. Now, depending on the furnace that you have, the air inlet where it takes in air, because to create combustion you need to have air and fuel and a spark to create fire. So depending on the furnace that you have, its combustion air, or the air that it's bringing in, might just be the ambient space in your basement or the crawl space or your attic or wherever it may be. So make sure that you're not putting anything around it where it can choke off that intake, because it's not going to work for very long if you do that. So keep it clean. If you're comfortable, you can take the doors off your furnace and just kind of clean out all the dust and the dirt and the dead mice and the missing relatives and whatever else you might be hiding inside your furnace. Just keep all that clean. Try not to mess with any of the wiring. Try not to mess with any of that stuff in there. Just take a paintbrush, the wife's or the girlfriend's or the husband's or boyfriend's, watercolor brushes, and just go in there and just doll it up. Just make it nice. That can go a long way too, because inside your furnace there's a control board and there's a lot of little electrical connections, and if you know anything about electronics, you know that when those things get dirty and gross, they tend not to work so good. Which, if you're a 90s baby like me, you know that blowing into a Super Nintendo cartridge magically makes the game system work. I don't know how that works really, but it seems to make sense in my brain. The registers in your house, the supply registers. Okay, what are those? Well, those are the things that actually are pushing air into a given room. The things on the floor, or maybe down towards the floor, or maybe even in the ceiling, wherever those might be. The things that you feel air coming out of, those things. They might be white, they might be brown, they might be, not even there. I don't know what the inside of your house looks like. Anyway, those things, what could you do with those? Well, again, keep them uncovered, because that's just common sense. If you have them covered, they're not going to be able to move the air. Your HVAC system doesn't like a lot of back pressure. It doesn't want to work really hard. And it's kind of like the arteries in your body. Your heart doesn't want a lot of clogging. The heart doesn't tend to work really good when it's clogged. Same thing in your HVAC system. So keep furniture, mattresses, rolls of carpet, whatever, away from your supply registers. Also, your return registers. Now, how do you know it's a return register? Well, typically, they're a huge grill. And by grill, I don't mean the Weber outside. It's a grill that's in the wall, and it's large. They're very, very large, and you won't feel anything coming out of it, but you will hear air moving through it. It's usually a pretty loud process. You definitely don't want to stack anything around that either, because again, clogged arteries. It's not good. So speaking of registers, don't close them. Some of them, supply registers typically have a knob or like a screw a little turny knobby guy on the side that will adjust the vanes all the way to close to all the way to open and anywhere in between. Now, if you're wanting to direct airflow, adjusting those vanes, it's fine. But you never want to completely close it. And that goes back to what I said earlier about clogging up your system. Creates back pressure, and your system's really designed to operate just free flowing and just move all that air around. So definitely do not close any registers. There is a scenario called zoning, and there's a right way to close off sections of your house if you have ductwork. And we'll cover that and ductwork in a later video. But for the sake of this video and your registers, just don't ever close them. All right, that is it for this episode of Welcome Home. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. I'm also going to put a link to the Rheem Pro Partner website in the description below. If you have any questions about what I talked about, or if you want to get any more depth, be sure to visit any of those contractors at that website, and they'll be glad to steer you down the right path. I will see you next time.